Hey guys! So today I have a really exciting video for you guys. I'm basically going to be talking about how to get good grades in college or how to get straight A's. This past semester went really well for me. I got a 4.0 GPA and my first semester went really well too in regards to grades. So I'm just feeling like very good right now. I know initially going into college, like a lot of people don't know what the classes are going to be like, don't know what the grades are going to be like. And you probably heard a lot of people saying, hey, like when you go to college, you're not going to have the same grades that you used to have in high school. And I do think that's true in a lot of aspects, but there are still ways that you can get good grades. And these are just the tips I've learned. This is my own opinion. Might not work for everyone, but I'm hoping that these tips do help you, and stay tuned for some cool facts. Tip number one, most important thing to do is set a goal. For me, I knew I wanted straight A's, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get straight A's, and I understand that there are things I'm gonna have to sacrifice in order to get that grade, and it's not gonna be easy, but like I'm committing right now. I'm saying that this is what I want, and this goal does not have to be straight A's. It can be like I'm gonna get good grades, I'm gonna get no C's. It just has to be something, and you're gonna have to commit to it. And tip number two, so you want to go to all of your classes, lecture, going to your discussions, like going to both of those is really important, because even if your teacher puts up the lecture slides online, like puts up the PowerPoint, there's a lot of things you don't say in a PowerPoint. Like, when have you ever made a PowerPoint and you put like every single thing that you said down? But I figure if you're going to be going over the information by yourself anyway, like you might as well just go to class, because they're going to be going over it for you. So it's even less work for yourself, and it's probably going to take you less time in class to learn than it will on your own. It's also important to sit in the front. So you want to sit in like the T-zone area. I usually sit in the second row in like the center, because I realized that being in front, like in the front makes me like really anxious. But like being in the second row, at least there's like a row of people in front of me, so I can kind of like still feel like I'm part of the class. Tip number three. So you want to use your laptop only when necessary. A lot of times when you bring your laptop to class, you're not actually doing the work. Like you end up checking your email, you end up online shopping, just doing a lot of stuff that you don't need to be doing in class. So I really try to not bring it unless the teacher says, hey, bring your laptop today, or like I know it's a class that I need my laptop for. Number four, like take advantage of all your extra credit opportunities. I am urging you. So in the beginning of the semester, there's probably going to be a lot of extra credit opportunities. At my school, they have the Writing Center and they have the OCC, which is the Oral Communication Center. And for my communications class and for my English class, they said that we can get 5 points extra credit just for going for our papers and stuff like that. And a lot of people did not go because they were like, oh, we don't really need that. But that, like, those 5 points really add up. At the end of the semester, you're really gonna want those when you're kind of just like begging your teacher for a grade. Tip number five. So you want to make all of your homework intentional. And a lot of homework in college is online. So there is a deadline and you have to get it done. So a lot of people wait till the last second and they kind of just like look it all up, or kind of just do whatever they have to do to get the grade. And sometimes that's what you have to do. But if you can, I would really try and start early. And I know for me, first semester I had chemistry, so we had like mastering chemistry, and I also had math, and we had my math lab. And I can honestly say I would not have passed chemistry if it weren't for mastering chemistry. Like mastering chemistry taught me chemistry. My sixth tip is to take advantage of all your academic resources. And I know this is like a big thing for a lot of people. I'll explain why in like a second. But when I say academic resources, I mean office hours, I know in my school we have GSS, which are guided study sessions, where people who have already taken the class and gotten an A, they lead a session and they kind of like help you with the information that you already have in your class. And these are a couple times a week and they're in big groups, so it's like less pressure. A lot of people go to those, but those are usually people who are doing well in the classes, not the people who aren't doing well. And then at the end of the semester, like when it's close to an exam, that's when the people who aren't doing well want to come in, like start going, which is fine too. But my thing is, a lot of people don't go because of pride, or like once you're having an issue but you're like, no, I'm fine, I can like do it by myself. Usually like you're wasting a lot of time and you're making yourself have an even lower grade. You sought out help like after the first exam instead of after like the third exam, then you probably have a better grade than if you started just like at the end of the semester. My seventh tip is to make studying a habit. I mean, don't make it something that you do just before exams. Like make studying something that you do continuously throughout the year. You know, for me, throughout the week, like I'll read through my notes, not all the time, but like I'll try and study just like for class. I would also say to make your studying intentional, and I've already gone over this. A lot of people try to multitask, and I know that a lot of people think they're really good at it, but there have been so many studies that say that humans are not meant to multitask. Like, we're bad at it. So if you're trying to, like, I don't know, watch TV and do your homework, you're not going to retain all that information. So it's best if you just, like, when you're studying, you're studying. And that brings me to my ninth tip, which is to study with small groups. So study groups can be very, very beneficial. And this is another thing that connects to like the previous tip I had about how you should sit in the front of the class, because that's how you can meet a lot of the people who you should study with. But I think the issue a lot of people have with study groups is that usually they have study groups that are too large. So I would recommend to have a study group between 2 to 4. And I even think 4 is kind of pushing it. I would aim for like 2 to 3. And I say this because when you're in a larger study group, you're not contributing as much to what everyone else is saying. You're kind of just like listening because you can kind of just like sit back. But if you're in a smaller group, then you're kind of forced to talk and like conceptualize facts with other people. My eighth tip is to customize how you study for each class. I want to spend more time on the STEM ones than you do for like the other classes. When I study for like chem or math or bio, I'll start studying like 2 weeks in advance before the exam. But when I'm studying for like fam sci, I might start like 3 days, 4 days. Like, you don't need as much time to study for those. So you want to like study smart and not harder. I used to study for chemistry with my friend Pong, and she was very, very good with chem, and I wasn't very good with chem. So I would say to study with someone who's more knowledgeable about the topic than you are. Yes, and you can find these people in the front of the classroom because those are always the ones who always know what's going on. They always do all the studying ahead of time. And even by teaching you, like, they're helping themselves too. So my 10th tip, crap, I feel like I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna stop counting because I can't count and I think I'm like not on the right number anymore, I'm sorry. But, so you want to take short study breaks. Don't take an hour break for the hour long you studied. Take like 10 to 15 minute breaks, then it's like, okay, it's kind of shorter, and like you're still giving yourself a break to kind of separate yourself from the topic. I'm really frustrated like pretty easily. So I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, I don't get this problem, I don't get this problem. And then like I'll come back and I'll be like, wow, that was really, really simple. I was kind of just like over analyzing it because I was tired. My next tip would be to leave your phone in your room while you study, or leave it on do not disturb, or just like something that's not going to bother you, because you'll end up being on your phone and then coming back and being on your phone, and that can take up a lot of time. Like, people not realize how long they be on their phone. So I would just say leave it in your room and you'll have a much more productive studying session. And now I have some tips for during the exam, because I know a lot of people, the issue with their grades is that they're fine, they get the information, but then they take the test and they're bad at taking the test. I have some tips that will help you in this department so your grade does not have to suffer just because you're kind of nervous. So my tip for this will be humble and be cautious. A lot of people go into the test, I know either one problem is like you're psyching yourself out. You feel like you know nothing even though you know everything. Or a lot of people feel like they know everything even though like, and like they will know everything, but it's just like you're not reading the actual question. You're answering the question that you want the question to be. So when I say be humble, I mean go into the test kind of like understanding, okay, I'm going to do every single question. Like, I got this, I studied the information, I know the information. But don't feel like, oh, I got this, oh, I know what's going on. Because the second you think you know what's going on, you're going to be answering questions that aren't even on the test that you imagine were there. And then you'll be like, oh man, I knew that question. I was just like, I didn't read it right. And when I say be cautious, I mean read every single question in its entirety. There's nothing wrong with being the last person in the room. Like, double, triple check your answers. And when you're checking it again, don't check it like, oh, like I got this one. Yeah, I know this one's right. Yeah, I know this one's right. Like, check it like you were checking the test all over again, like a blank slate, if you're a whole different person. Also, another tip that has really helped me with my exams is asking questions. I know in high school, I never used to ask questions during an exam because I was like, what can you possibly ask? Like, and they say like, don't ask them for the answer. So it's like, what do I ask you then? So I never used to raise my hand. And then I was in calculus, and I loved my calc teacher. He was just so cute, even though he didn't really know what he was doing. Like, he was just so adorable. But I remember during one of the exams, he came in and he was like, raise your hand if you have a question because you'll probably get a higher grade. And I was like, like, what's up? So you need to be ready to like raise your hand if you don't really know what's going on. And a good tip if you don't really know what to ask is if you're kind of stuck between like two answers, kind of just like be like, oh, so are you looking for something that's like more general, or is this like specific enough, or do you want it to be like more specific than that? And just kind of like hint. And sometimes you can tell by their facial expressions whether or not the answer is wrong or if it's right. Or sometimes like they'll even like be like, no, like that's not right. Or they'll be like, oh yeah, you got it, like keep going in that direction. My next tip is that even after the exam, don't just like get your exam back and like look at your grade. You want to look at all the questions you got wrong. Not just because you can get extra points back on your test if you find something that went wrong, but also because when you look back at your exam, like these are the areas that you need to work on, or like, oh, okay, I thought I understood that concept but I don't, or like you can understand like what concepts you already are good on, or like you should kind of just like briefly glance over. Even after you look back on it, my next tip would be to email your teacher or talk to your teacher about your test or just about your grade in general. And I don't mean to do this at the very end of the semester. I mean do this kind of throughout the semester, so your teacher knows that you actually care about your grade and you're not just like kind of, or like not just like care about the grade, but actually like care about your education, like learning. I'm not saying don't email them at the end of the semester because that has worked for a lot of people. But I'm saying like do it throughout. But like at the end of the semester when you're really crunched and it's like I've done everything I can do, but I'm still not where I want it to be, like hit them up like, hey, like I know my friend, she used humor in her email and her teacher really appreciated it and like bumped her up a whole letter grade. So like that can really save your grades. So my next tip would be to reevaluate. So if you see that something's not working, you've gone through all of the tips in this book, but you still feel like there's not a disconnect, like you really studied really hard for that test but you didn't get the grade that you felt like you deserved or like you were working for, reevaluate. Like, am I studying with a small group? When I'm studying, am I actually studying, or am I just kind of like glancing over the information? Like, am I just memorizing things, or am I just like reading the textbook? Because that's not going to help you either. So it's like, am I doing the things that I need to do to study correctly? And then like when you reevaluate, look for how you can improve the problem and like implement that change immediately. Don't wait and be like, oh, I'm gonna do this by myself. This goes back to the whole being humble thing. Just if you weren't going to guided study sessions before, you weren't going to tutoring, whatever you needed to do, start going the second that you realize that you have a problem. Start going to office hours. Just like don't be hesitant to make that change. Okay, so my next tips are kind of just about life, because I know that going into college, a lot of the most difficult things are actually balancing your social life while balancing your school life. So I would say to get enough sleep. In the beginning years of college, like it's not that hard to get enough sleep. I honestly, like I went out every single weekend to like 2, 3 a.m. and I still got all my homework done and I still got enough sleep. I'm not saying to do that, but I'm saying it's possible. My next tip would be to use your calendar. I know for me, the first semester was the hardest for me because it's like there's so much stuff going on for freshmen and you feel like you don't want to like fall behind in your social life, but you also don't want to like give up your grades. Use your calendar. Put everything, when you get your syllabus, put everything into Google Calendars on your phone. And I also had like a whiteboard and I would write it out on the board, and I also use my planner. So I had all three of those resources to help me, and those really kept me organized and make sure that I did not miss the assignments, because everyone hates when like you're missing a grade not because you didn't do well, you didn't try, it's just because you forgot, and that really sucks, and it really affects you for the entire semester. So you really don't want to forget assignments. My next tip would be to allow yourself to have fun. It's completely possible to have fun and to get everything done. It's like you really have to give yourself time, because if you're just like focused on work and focused on work and focused on work, you're not going to have a good time, and you're always going to be stressed out, and that's going to like reflect in your work. And I know that happened to a lot of my friends, and they were like, how are you going out all the time and you're having fun, but like you're still getting like these great grades? I'm like, it's because I'm not only focused on grades, I'm still focused on developing myself socially and like getting to do the things that I enjoy, so I'm not as stressed out when I'm taking these exams or like when I'm doing my homework and stuff. Like it's all like fun for me. Okay, so my last tip would be to be proud of yourself, believe in yourself, and just give yourself credit for all the work that you've done. And I know this is like the hardest tip, because at the end of the semester when you get your grades and they're not the grades that you feel like you deserve, the grades that you wanted, or like what you really worked hard for, you're going to be upset. And it's like, give yourself that time to grieve, but then get over it, because you need to understand that you tried your hardest the entire semester. Like, you did all the work that you want to do. You did all the tips that I mentioned in this video. Like, you really tried. And you might feel like your grade doesn't reflect what you did at the time, but just understand that you did the hard work that got you that grade, and be proud of what you accomplished because you worked so hard for it. And yeah, sometimes even like you look back and like at the time you didn't feel like you deserved the grade, but then like you look back like a semester later and you're like, my grades weren't even that bad. Like, I actually did a pretty great job, and I'm like really proud of myself. So yeah, just like give yourself credit. And if you did get what you want, like great for you. Go celebrate. So I really hope this video helped you. I hope that you learned a lot. I know it's pretty long. I hope you took notes. So I hope that this gives you the grades you want, or the grades that you do want, or just gives you some more confidence about your grades. So yeah, just let me know in the comments if this really helped you. It might take a semester for me to find out. Let me know if you used the tips in the video. And if you like my content, then like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.